Hey everyone, how are you? I know it's kind of late and I normally am not up this late, but I decided I wanted to stay up to work on this project. I wanted to get out as much as possible to people the information about this wonderful book that I'm studying called The Science of Getting Rich. It's a book by Wallace D. Wattles, and I think it is one of the most significant books that I've read in a long time. In fact, one of the most significant books that I've studied in a long time. The last time I was on, I talked about your right to be rich. And you heard me ask you questions like, is it okay to be rich? And I know I talked about being chastised about my desire to be rich and people telling me they wanted to be comfortable. So I wanted to find out, the next question is, how comfortable do you want to be? Well, I'm reading chapter 2 of the book. And chapter 2 is pretty fascinating because it's saying that everyone can get rich with mathematical certainty. And, as someone who wasn't very good at traditional school, I wondered, what does mathematical certainty mean? I remember when I think of math, I think of complicated algebra, geography, but how he explains it is math as simple as counting your money. You know, if somebody gives you the wrong change, that's as simple as the math is to get rich. And what I found out is that some of the the richest people who I know, didn't have a college or don't have a college degree. So I'm fascinated. What is it that's causing this phenomena? Why are they getting rich while some of the people I know who have many degrees are not? And why is it that some of the people, it doesn't matter what your environment is. He's saying, right, that two people can live on the same street. One will get rich and the other will get poor. And you've all seen that, haven't you? Where someone is very wealthy, they seem to be very well off while another family seems to be struggling. Or let's say two people work in the same business. One person is thriving, another person is struggling. In my Mary Kay business, I've seen that so many times where the people at the top, they seem to be thriving with grace and ease. And then you have others who are struggling. And he's saying that two people can be in the same business. One thrives, one struggles, and it's because they're not doing business in a certain way. He said that it doesn't matter if you're pretty or you're not so pretty. If you do business in a certain way, you will still get rich. He says that, it's like a mathematical equation. And if you apply the equation, just like you apply it when you're counting money, you will be rich. And I'm curious because I've never heard this concept. When I grew up, I just thought people just got lucky and got rich. I didn't know that they were doing it in a certain way. And I want to ask you all, do you think or do you know what that certain way could be? Because as I read the book, I kept asking, what is a certain way? What is a certain way? And I must confess, I've been reading this book / listening to this audiobook for over 80 days now. And magical things are happening for me. And everyone who has done the challenge, the 90-day challenge religiously, they've found the same thing. They've found that ideas are popping in their heads, ideas that are amazing, that no one else has. It's gotten to the point where I actually keep a book on ideas because I keep getting new, better ideas. But anyway, I digress. And if you're watching and if you have any questions, please let me know. I want to answer them. All right, just leave it in the comment section over here. So the thing about it is you can be anywhere. You can even be on a park bench right now and you get a copy of this book, or you may think a thought and you can make sure that you can become rich. In fact, there was a man who became very wealthy, and he was asked by one of the people who eventually became one of his mentees, when did he become wealthy? And he said he was wealthy when he was homeless on the park bench. Get that. Isn't that crazy? And in times like these, when there's somewhat uncertainty, this book is giving you like a manual on how to manage through this period. In fact, it was written during a period like this over 100 years ago. So he's saying that two people can live on the same street, like I said before, one rich, one poor. He's saying two people can be in the same business, one rich, one poor. He's saying that in the same family, two people can go to the same elementary school. One becomes very wealthy, one becomes very poor. Because one person, the one who becomes rich, is doing things in a certain way. So, guys, in the feed, in the comment section, what do you think that certain way is? Can you tell me? Because it took me a while to figure it out. And now that I know it, I'm doing my best to work that way. What do you think? Acting in a certain way. What certain way is it that causes you to be rich? Let me make sure I check my notes here. All right. So, when you're doing your job, he suggests that you act in a certain way. When you're dealing with people, you act in a certain way. And when you live your life, even if you're working with a child, you act in that certain way. In my next chapter, I'll talk about that certain way, but I want you to think about it. What is a certain way? Do you think that getting rich is as simple as math? And if you don't want to get rich, how comfortable do you want to be? How comfortable? Do you want enough for you and your family? Do you want enough so that you can serve other people in other countries? Do you want enough so that you can do whatever you want? I heard it defined today by a YouTube page that I listen to called ALUX. And they say you're wealthy when you cannot work for a year, live a wonderful lifestyle, and not even think about money. Or you can get up and go anywhere in the world that you want and not even think about it. Now, Wallace D. Wattles in the book, The Science of Getting Rich, is telling me and he's telling you that you can have that lifestyle. It doesn't have to be a wish or a hope. You can actually make that happen. I'm curious. I'm going to pretend like I'm reading this for the first time along with you and go along the journey. And I'm curious to see what steps would I need to take to make it, to become rich. So whoever is listening, whether you're in school, whether you're working hard at your job, whether you are self-employed, whether you have employees, or whether you are an employee, what do you think are the chances of you getting rich using this method? On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 meaning, nah, this is total baloney. You can't choose 5 because 5 confuses me. 10 is, oh my goodness, I believe if I apply these principles, I could become rich. And as I close, he does give one caveat. He says, even though environment doesn't matter, he says, you wouldn't open a salmon fishery in the Sahara Desert. All right. However, he does say anybody can be rich. He says smart people can be rich. Smart people may not be rich. Also, he says blockheads can be rich and blockheads can be poor. It depends on how you do things. Guys, I want to thank you for listening in. Leave a comment for me, please, because my goal is to create value, and I want to make sure that everyone who listens to these recordings, they're better for having heard them. All right. Again, my name is Denise Nicola. I want you to go onto my YouTube page, like, share, and subscribe, because my goal is to create value, and I'm going to continue creating content that does such. Bye, guys.